Hello everyone, this is going to be one of my authors chats of the week, and as always I'm going to wait a moment trying to get everybody to kind of get synced and notified, and I'll keep my eye out for my co-host this week, and we'll be talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. So if you have any questions for us or topics you'd like us to cover pertaining to books and all sorts of literature things or writing, just let us know. But as I said, I'll keep my eye open for my co-host, and hopefully it goes a little smoother this week. I made a really dumb glitch last time, and but there goes to show that I was scrambling. I had a really rough day the last time I did one of these. I had a sick husband and dog, and everything was going sideways, but hopefully today will be a lot smoother. But let me see if I keep my eye out. And some really cool news is I've finally, within the last time, and now, it may have been last time, I released a book talk shop here, so that's been kind of fun, working behind the scenes, getting everything stocked and ready to go, figuring out what all the fun little care packages I've created for people who buy direct, because as an author, that is extremely important. Helps us out a lot. But yeah, and keeping my eye out. I don't see her at the moment. We were talking behind the scenes, and sometimes it just takes a minute or two to sync up. But how's everybody else's week going? I've been, if you can hear, I don't know if you hear my dog in the background, but been finishing up, caring for my poor puppy. We all hate when, pets aren't doing well, but okay, keeping my eye out. So far, don't see her, but anywho, but yeah, so the TikTok shop's really kind of cool, and on it you will get all the print versions that I'm selling, so individuals, sets of series, as well as book box bundles of various sorts. And on my regular shop, because this platform doesn't allow e-versions to be distributed, on my regular shop on my website, that's where everybody who does e-reader stuff can get their copies, which is really cool, that I can now sell that direct, because up until now I was only stuck distributing to people who were on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited, but now I'm able to share my work with people who read Kobo or Nook and any of the other e-readers, so that's pretty cool too. But as I'm keeping my eye out, sorry, gonna send out care packages. Yeah, that'd be kind of funny. I like the idea. I was actually watching some videos earlier of other authors receiving these kind of book promo packages and from some different books, and it's always kind of neat to see what people do. And some of them, I think his name's Otto Schaefer. He'll be actually doing a live with me before terribly long, but he's releasing a zombie. Look, let me see if I can invite her. Look, come back. Invite. A zombie book series, and I just saw one of his characters. Here we go. Hopefully in a moment. Hello?
Hi.
Hi! Okay, good. I can hear you, because last week I made a mistake and I had my personal, this is how stressed I was. I had my phone on silent, could not hear him. It took me 10 minutes to realize it was me. Everybody else was like, what are you doing? But how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Well, thank you for joining me tonight. And these are usually just pretty chill and low-key.
Yeah.
And so what I like to do, because you're my co-host this week, is I'll let you introduce yourself and what you write, and we'll just go from there. It's pretty simple.
Okay. All right, cool. So I'm Alanna Grace. I wrote my first book this year, 183 Reasons. It is a small town romance, second chances, broken hero, found family. So yeah, just got out into the world October 17th. So I'm on this crazy little journey here and new to it all.
I love that. And so let me ask you, because it's your first book and you just released it, I'm sure, one, you are relieved, but how do you feel about just getting that first book under your belt, that whole process?
I mean, I never thought I would actually do this or that I could do this. So it's just kind of just awe-inspiring, really. And the fact that like I mean, I don't know if you saw the video of me opening it. Like, I'll never forget that day because it became like so real to have it in your hands.
Oh,
But
yes.
yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling, and yeah, it's not often as an adult you get people to say like, "I'm proud of you." You know what I mean? And it was just really cool to hear that. So it's been fun.
I love that. Yeah, it's been a couple years, but I will definitely say that first moment when you hold your physical copy of your book, if you're a
Hmm.
person who does physical copies,
Yeah,
it's just a wonderful. It's hard to like describe. It's just a
yeah,
wonderful experience because it doesn't matter if you spent a month working on this or like me almost a decade.
yeah,
It's like that sense of achievement and it's your I call them book babies because they
yeah.
are this is your child that is finally out in the world and you hope people like it.
I know, and I think it's because you're on a screen the whole time and you're typing, 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 and it's like the manuscript is there, but like to actually see it and know it could be on someone's bookshelf one day is that I think realization moment for me anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so let me ask you,
sure.
so first book, are you intending to write more? And I did not ask if this was part of a series or if this is a standalone, but are you intending to do more or is this your crowning achievement? Because some people just want to write
Yeah.
that one ideal book and then be done.
Right. Yeah. No, this is a series. So it's the Newfound Lake series. And book two, which is 43 Degrees North, is actually coming out in April. So April 16th. So it's already
Wow.
done and it's on its way. Yeah. I'm doing the cover reveal next week. So I'm excited. It went out to my newsletter people this week. But yeah, so it'll be part of a series. I don't know how many more, that'll be in it. I'm not really sure. But yeah. And then after that, there'll be one in January 20.
That's so neat. And you sound far more prepared about it than I did. And I see some comments about how people love your book so far and love your cover, so that's fantastic.
That was
But
a
yeah,
scary
I
part. The cover was a scary part, I have to say, because I feel
really.
like it was different than what's out there right now. And a lot of
Hmm.
the romance covers right now, I feel like 10 years ago it was always like the shirtless guy. And then it was more like the cartoon animated covers are super popular. They're adorable. And it didn't fit the vibe I was going for. And I
Hmm.
knew I was taking a chance. So I was really happy that it seems like people liked it. So,
And the nice thing about being, well, an indie author, in my experience, is that if at any point you feel like things are changing too much or
right,
you need an update, you have the power to do that whenever you're ready to do that. Or if you want to just keep your cover and do a second one as so
right,
one's like a legacy cover, you can do that too.
right. Right, right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
But no, that's really neat. So for your release, I know you've been on here and talking. You want to talk about your book behind the scenes, so you have someone to kind of be like, "Hey, please buy it." So how was that for you building your, as they say, author's platform?
I mean, yeah, that was obvious. I was more scared to do that than I was anything about learning how to publish a book or write a book. It was really the social media part that I was petrified. Not that I was anti-social media, but maybe
Mm,
being a mom of older kids, it's always been like, get off your phone, get off your phone. And
oh
now
yeah.
now look at me. I mean, this is like bad. So I'm just taking it day by day. I really would
Mm-hmm.
like to pretend that I had some like genius brainstorming session of what I was going to do, but I didn't. I mean, if you scroll back to the beginning of this, it was pathetic. I mean, some of the things I was putting out there, because I didn't know. I had never been on Book Talk or TikTok before I literally wrote this book. So it's just been kind of like whatever feels right. It's what I've been going with. So far, so good.
And I think that's especially this platform is fairly forgiving because it's at least from what my again I can only talk about my experience,
Right,
but
right,
people want to get to know you as a person
right,
and get to know your work and your journey, and so it's okay if you kind of stumble along the way because I'm
right.
definitely the person who's done that.
Yeah,
But and the hopes is you'll find a connection with some potential readers, with some other people in the bookish community, and go from there.
right.
So it's again, you were far better off than I did because when I released Asar's Claws, the one in the blue back there, uh, back in 2016, I kind of waited around for like maybe over a year, not doing anything because I obviously thought the world was going to discover a
Right.
book, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of felt
It's
like the
doesn't work
complete
like
opposite. I was like, Actually the complete opposite. I'm like, I'm just gonna go like completely throw myself out there and find other readers. And then I mean, I should feel like I should like hold my book up or something, but like I felt like if this didn't go well or something, got in the way of it, like I'm still a reader, like at the heart of it. So I'm like, if the worst thing that comes out of this is I meet other people that love books that I love, then great, right? But on the other platforms, I'm not so great. I feel like taking beautiful photos and all of that, that's
Yeah.
where I am bad. I'm bad at that. And some people have just the most beautiful stuff put on the other platforms, but this is a little bit more like of a hot mess.
And I think again, this book talk community is very welcoming and wants that
Yes.
again, that real feel versus some of the more polished, as you said, platforms. But yeah, I like to work smarter, not harder.
Yes.
And so the whole repurposing of videos from here onto the other platforms, that's my jam. It's like
Yeah.
put it here and then start cycling in a few weeks, it'll pop up somewhere else, and another week it'll pop up somewhere else, and I'm like, use those reels.
Mm-hmm. And don't you
Use those
feel
reels.
like, though, it's so funny, the people in my life that are like, oh, I'm not on TikTok. It's like you're just watching them on the other
Mm-hmm.
channel.
Yeah, they just don't know.
No, they just don't know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's I don't know. It is kind of funny when you explain it to them, but they're like, "No, we still don't want to be on." And I was like, "That's fine.
Yeah.
You want to be where you're comfortable with, and
Right.
everybody has what works for them because every author has their like favorite place to hub, and maybe it's
Yeah.
here, maybe
Yeah.
it's Twitter, maybe it's Instagram, and that's all okay. And whatever works for you
Yeah.
is
This has
supposed to
definitely
be. Yeah.
been the place I feel most comfortable in for sure, which I was the least like expecting that to be the least favorite. Honestly, I don't know why, but I love it here. Everyone is so nice.
Yeah, I see some of your compliments about how supporting you and your videos and your content, but yeah, I love this. This is definitely my favorite place to hub. But there's so
Yeah.
many ways you can do it. You can post a video, and again, it's yes. In the beginning, you have to get over that weirdness of staring at yourself and
Yeah.
filming yourself and putting it
Yes.
out there for the world to see. And that did take a moment to kind of get over that weird
Yeah.
sensation, but it's so
And
much
also,
fun.
I feel like I got to the point where I'm like, okay, if somebody thinks it's ridiculous or terrible, okay. Like, if somebody thinks I look funny doing that, okay. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I mean, you write a book and you hope you find people that love it. So,
That's true. And people should write books. Well, everybody's different. I think that people should write books that you want to read. So at the very
right.
least, you do something that you love and you can be proud of it. And guess what? There's going to be someone out there who loves it too. You just
Yeah.
have to find them. That's the hard part.
And if I had no idea how many times you end up, I knew I'd read this a lot. I just had
Oh
no
yeah.
idea how many times. So yeah, you better love it because you're going to read it. I joke like I read this 183 times probably. It's a lot.
Oh yeah. I had been working on a project for my readers group because I was having them, as a fantasy author, I was having them help me create a monster for a future book series. And as a reward for this project, I wrote a short story for them. So I've been editing the short story, and I was just like, man, this is a short story. This is like a freebie gift. And how much time and effort that's been going on behind the scenes, having it edited and getting a cover and all this stuff for a short story that I'm giving out.
No, it's a
It's
lot.
amazing and
Yeah.
a little mind-boggling.
Are you
So,
a narrator too, by any means?
no, I am not.
You're, well, you sound like you could be. Like your voice, you sound like you have one of those voices. Like every time I hear you, I'm like, she should be like a narrator too.
Well, thank you. I agree to disagree. I appreciate that. I really do, but I agree to disagree because I don't have a talent to change my voice to sound like a
Okay.
different character, and I
Okay.
feel like, and again, for the audiobooks that I've liked, because I've started that process of converting all mine into audio, I really like narrators who can change their voice to really
Right.
become other people, and I just feel like I would sound like me 150
Yeah.
times.
Okay. Well, you have a great voice, so if anyone wanted to
Well,
use it,
thank
it'd
you.
be a good one.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate that. Thank you. But going to your story, so where did you get your idea for your book? Because everybody gets their
Yeah.
stories, that concept, that initial concept for them from different sources.
Yeah.
And all mine are very different. So I want to hear about you. How did you come up with your idea? The
Yeah.
one that was, I must put this to paper.
So the setting was like the first thing because it's the Newfound Lake series. Like I grew up on that lake in the summer with my family. So it is like I say it all the time on my videos, but just like the most beautiful, unspoiled place. That's just like an undiscovered. If anyone's ever been to New Hampshire in the Lakes region, like there's Lake Winnipesaukee that is like super busy and touristy and
Oh
beautiful.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is like its little sister that like nobody really knows about, and it's just
Aw.
beautiful. So that's like it's like small town vibes, and I grew up small town girl,
Me
and so it's
too.
just everybody knows everybody for better or for worse in a small town, and I love that. I didn't as a kid. I hated being in a small town as a teenager, but now I'm so thankful for it. And so right away I knew it would be a small town. I knew it was going to be in set in New Hampshire in the Lakes region, so it's Newfound Lake series. So that's where that came from. As far as like the actual storyline, I mean, some of it was a little bit personal as far as like my parents getting older and
Hmm.
um, not knowing if they can maybe take care of things in the same way that they want to as they age. And so that's where like the storyline comes in of so Leah's the main character and her family, her parents are thinking of they want to get rid of the log cabin that's up there. And to her, it's such a special place. And she basically says to them, like, don't sell it, give me the summer, see if I can make it. And they're very much like, you can't hack it out there because the winters are tough up there. The summer's
Yeah.
beautiful, but you're in the woods, you need the wood. It's not a quick drive to any store. And that's how really it is up there. So she basically convinces them to give her the summer to prove she can do it. And so when she goes up there for the summer and leaves her life where she's established a job and have a career, she heads up there and tries to prove that she can make it. Therefore, meeting somebody. And then there's a huge element in the story that I don't want to give away, but that it's not just a love story. It's a story of the town coming together because of an element that comes in from the outside. So it's like that
Mm.
small town vibe, which I've lived with, whether it's a family needing assistance or a political issue or whatever it
Mhm.
is, watching like a small town come together and kind of like you don't mess with a small town vibe. So it was just pieces of maybe a little bit of my life here and there, but just sometimes it just pops in your head and it just comes together. The one part of the story that is definitely like the most dear to me is the grandparents. Like my grandparents, I had such a special relationship with them, and my grandfather was an author. So the grandparents in the story are very much in like remembrance of my grandparents. So their love story, that part of it.
Oh, that's so sweet. And
Yeah.
I grew up in a small town, and my family has a family farm, and I understand those kind of vibes and mentalities, and it's that
Yeah.
the warm and cozy feel that it sounds like your book kind of exudes.
Yeah.
And I see also a
And
comment
Jackson is a
that's
farmer. So the main character is a small town apple orchard farmer.
I feel like this is one of those wannabe. Oh, what's the? Can't think of it. Not Showtime, but what channel is the Hallmark movies?
I
Very.
kind of call this like Hallmark After Dark. Yeah,
Ooh.
no, I don't think it could be on the Hallmark channel. No, definitely not.
Okay, so it's a
Yeah,
little heated. I guess I should
yeah,
have asked what level of spice you're.
yeah. That I definitely learned my lesson about that. So when I first got on TikTok and Book Talk, I started seeing people with like their little chili pepper spice-o-meters. I'm like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
that's so cute. And so here I go naively saying, oh, mine is like rates like a this, and I'm like, then the book comes out, and then I've got my mother-in-law calling me being like, oh, and then I've got the person I work with being like, oh, but then other people saying, oh, it's nothing. So it's like so depends on what you read, what you think of it. So I'm like, I will never rate another book again because I just people are so different and everything's unique. Oh, so
And
see,
that,
somebody just said more spice than Hallmark can handle. Yeah, so
but that is a fascinating thing. I know I've asked that question before, and other people, and I feel like everybody should, especially if you are trying to write an adult scene. And something is ask your audience is how do you personally, or how would you personally write? Because everybody is different, and you have to
right,
point that out and say, what I feel it is like is going to be different than someone else. And I write epic fantasy, but I don't really focus. There's romance in it because romance is a slice of life, but it's not a romance fantasy. None of my stuff is, though one of them does have an adult scene. And it's kind of
right,
like, how do I rate that? Because it's nowhere near as spicy as people who love spice, really
right,
love a spice. They'd be like,
right.
oh, it's nothing. But someone who's only clean fantasy or will be like, woo! I
Right.
did
Yeah.
not
It just,
expect that.
yeah,
So
it
it
totally
is hard.
depends.
It's like I wished it was neater, being like, let's agree, let's all get together, book talk, and
Yeah,
come
that's
up
not going to
with
happen.
this is our chili pepper rule. And
Yeah. No, no chili pepper rule. There's never going to be an agreement on that one for sure.
but but it is an interesting conversation, and it's something that even readers should be aware of. Is everybody has different
Mm,
taste and different ways or extents that they can handle certain things, be it spice, be it something a little darker or grittier, in the
yeah.
battle scenes. That
Yeah, and I
everybody
will
has
say that I think everything in 183 Reasons is definitely like realistic spice. I joke sometimes that like you can go try all these scenes at home. Like they're okay. You'll be fine. But it's more realistic spice because sometimes I
yes.
read books where I'm like, oh my gosh, like where it's fun to read, but would that ever happen? Right. So this would happen.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
works well for, and thank you. It works well for your style and your genre is, again, you want a little more realism and maybe not the dragon shifter appearing behind you. And
Exactly. Exactly.
but okay, so what wows me is any author who just releases their first book and already knows they're releasing their second, and it's not that far out. So how much background prep did you do to realize I want to release this one now and then the next one, and within what 6 months or so months, something like that, and then the third one after that, and how much
Yeah.
background prep have you been doing?
Um, I'm kind of a little extra. So like when I decided to do this, I am a like jump with 2 feet in. So I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go big or go home and try the best I've got and just see what happens. And I've got some advice along the way from different people that I've reached out to. And it seems like as an indie author, there's no right or wrong way to do it, but I also
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to lose momentum and I knew I had stories in my head. And I also had a lot of nerves. So I felt like I dealt with the nerves of releasing this and waiting during that. Like, I should back up. So, like, I had no idea for this first one, like the timing of it all. Like,
Yeah.
how long was it going to take to get it back from the editor? How long would it take for me to? So, like, when do you pre order? Like, all that stuff I was just so nervous about because, like, am I going to hit the right button? Am I going to mess something up? So, during a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that is when I did the outlining for book two because it kind of helped calm me down, to be honest. So, I always knew when I finished this who the next book was going to be about. So I spent a lot of time on book two, almost like waiting for this. Um, and so then I said, if I'm going to do, release this one in October and do the next one in April, I pretty much just picked the next date and said, okay, the next one's going to be that January. So I kind of spaced it out saying, I want the outline done by this date. I want the first draft done by this date.
Smart.
And I kind of just almost keep myself accountable with like a certain amount by the end of the week have this done. And I steal moments. This is not obviously not my full-time job. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a teacher during the day. So I have to be very like regimented,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, in order to get it done. I did not expect the level of marketing that goes into this. I mean, like you said, you hope people discover it, but like if I were to take a day off of social media, like it drastically affects everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how much it affects everything because nobody knows me. So that takes a lot of time, which I didn't kind of put that into the equation. But yeah, it was like the response I'm getting so far about this has been really positive. So I'm like, okay, it's enough cheerleading to kind of bring me to the next one. But I will say, like, there's also that hope of like, you want to make sure you, or at least hope that maybe you can break even, because then you're,
Mm-hmm.
you're fronting it as an indie author. So you've got to really believe in it and make sure it's like a high quality product to put
Yes.
out. So it's the business side of it too that's tough.
Yes, and every author that I've talked to has had so many varied experiences,
Hmm.
and again goes back to there's no one right way. It's just what
No,
works for you and what's best for you. And maybe it's someone has a lot more time to dedicate to the writing or the marketing, and someone
right,
else may have a little bit more of pocket funds to put into some of the advertising part of it. And we all have to kind of figure out because
right.
it's not a cheap occupation to kickstart
No,
unless you
no,
use Kickstarter.
no. It's
But
definitely
yeah,
not. It's quite amazing how much goes into it, actually. you know.
It is, and it's always, I think, wowing for first-time authors to figure it all out because everything from, copyright certificates and ISBN down to a little more obvious stuff of editors and book cover designers, that all is
Right,
just as valid as your time, which time is
right,
money on Book Talk.
right. And I mean, I knew when I first did this, I said, there is no way I'm going to, I mean, and I'm not saying like I don't want to sound like you want to put something out that you could know that can stand with the best of them out there,
Mhm.
and I didn't want anyone to say, oh, but she's a first time author. I wanted it to be, wow, she's a first time author. Like when they read
Yes.
that, so you try to do as much right as you can. But I went into this blind. Like I am not from the writing world, the book world. I was always a reader, but knew nothing. So this has been so much fun just learning each little step of the way. But I didn't ever consider any other route but indie publishing. Like I never sent a letter. I never even considered it. Like this was like the way I was going to go. So,
I'm a full advocate for indie authors, but I'm totally supportive if you're a person who does want to go
oh
traditional
yeah.
or hybrid or whatever.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, for me, indie is such a fantastic route to take, and yes, it's going to be that much more work, effort, time, money, probably tears too,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the payoffs is just as much more fantastic too, in my opinion. But again,
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
biased.
mean, and I don't know any different either. I looked at it much more from the time aspect. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, if I'm going to try to do it a different route, like I'm going to be waiting years and years and years. And I was like,
Yes.
if I want to make this dream come true for myself, like I'm going to figure it out and try the best I can. And I was like, if it works, it works, But I didn't want to have to wait that amount of time because you do have to be very patient, I think, if you choose
Oh
a
yes.
different way.
Yes, like the querying process is a
Ugh,
long time, and even if you get an agent, then they have to kind of again pitch your work to a different kind of
yep,
publishing house, and then you have to get slotted in and go through their editing process. But by the way, you've already done an editing process, so it is a
yeah,
time commitment. Now
yeah.
you could do very, very well indie and get picked up by a publishing house later if that's, if you're open
Hmm.
to it. Some people do. I know a number
Yeah.
of people on here that have had offers and
Yeah.
half of them
Well, I mean, with
take them and
the
half
the
of them
huge,
didn't.
the biggest advantage is distribution, right? I mean, there's no
Yes.
way as an indie author I can reach or be wherever a traditional published author is. I mean, I joke sometimes, but the level of commitment it took to get my book in a library, gosh,
Hmm.
I mean, every little thing is just so much work and so much hustle because they usually get their books from the traditional publishing, outlets. So yeah, it's hard.
It
But
is
once you see
hard,
it there,
but
it's awesome.
yes. Yes. And that's the thing is, as an indie author, you have to decide what are the things you want first. And you
Yeah,
have to come up with, it sounds like you're very organized, but you have to come up with your game plan and be like, yes, if you want it to be in, and one of your earliest things you want it to be is in a library, you have to go figure out how to do that, work backwards and make, a commitment that that's one of your top priorities, but that means something else won't be. So you
right.
just have to figure out what your priorities are and go for it. And so that's why for me, when I'm trying to do something new, like recently I opened up my own direct sales shop on my website as well as this platform, but that took time. That took me a lot more time than I wanted. It was about 6 months trying to figure everything out and researching all the
Yeah.
options and then choosing something that I didn't like and then going back and readjusting and finally about a week ago, finally making that general announcement, woo, it's up and running. But it takes a lot of time, but doing
Yeah.
that means I couldn't focus on making my books wide because I was exclusive through Amazon, and so I'm trying to
Okay.
move to that wide way. So that will be something I'm going to be focusing on next year. But everything takes a lot of time.
It does take a lot of time, yeah. And like I said, some people do go wide right away, which is what I decided to do, but a lot of
Yes.
people don't and then change. And I think there's advantages and disadvantages. There's some things that I will
Mm-hmm.
definitely do different the second time as far as like pre-ordering and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's definitely a hard decision. Like, do I want to be in libraries? Do I want to be in small bookstores? Because you're the one that's cold calling all of those places.
Oh yeah.
Although I have had some of the sweetest people out here, I have to say, like they requested it from their library and like their library
Oh,
ordered it, or like somebody went to their local bookstore and you can just order it from there. Like people are just so nice. So it was
and
been
that's
very sweet.
And that's the thing, especially if you right now have that capability because you started off wide. I will hopefully get there at some point next
Yeah,
year. But to let your readers know and let your followers know that they can do that now that you've made that groundwork, people can request books that
yeah,
are wide, and if the author has done the behind the scenes stuff, which sounds like you have,
yeah.
and have it put into their libraries. So other people can technically do the
Right.
work for you to an extent and get your books out there. And they can, if you have some big supporters, just say, hey, this will help me. Even if you don't actually go get it out of the library, help me get it into the library
Yeah.
for people. And this is all you need to do. And so
Yeah, and I think a
educating them.
lot of people may not want to take the chance to buy my book as a new author because they don't know, like, is it worth buying or not? So if it's in more libraries, that's more chance of people saying, well, I'll just borrow the book, see if it's good. If I like it, maybe I'll read her next one, And yeah, that's an easiest way to support an indie author. That is wide for sure.
Yeah, I actually came up with a list. I should probably refresh it because it's been about a year since I did all those posts across my socials. But talking about, again, all the different free ways people can help support authors because, yes, some people are going to be very leery about buying a new book, and
Hmm.
not all authors are able to discount books or give out a whole bunch for
Right,
free.
right.
It's probably not that financially possible. But
Yeah,
there are a lot of
yeah,
free ways. If you like someone, maybe you like their personality, maybe you love their books, hopefully it's both.
yeah.
Then there's a bunch of things. Getting books into libraries, recommending them to book groups. I mean, there's so many things you can do to support, like, share, post. I mean, simple things. You're already on these socials.
Yeah,
Help
no, I
share.
mean, every little thing helps. And I think a lot of people, like, I think a lot of my followers that I do have necessarily aren't in the book talk, like they're in
Mm-hmm.
all different talks. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think a lot of people don't realize, even some of my own friends, I'm like, do you know if you comment, it helps make it reach more people. They're like, oh, I had no idea. I thought if I just watched it, that was just
it
like
does
good. And it
potentially
does,
too.
it does, but it's also like, no, but if you interact, which I'll see them the next day and we'll talk about it. I'm like, you should have put that in the comments. I could have responded because I love responding to the people in the comments. But yeah, it's all different ways to kind of interact and help authors and find readers. Yeah.
And part of that is, again, educating the viewer because if someone doesn't know, they would
Right.
probably be like, oh, I could do something, even to stick a smiley face on something. And that's sometimes when I'm running out of time, but I want to
Yeah.
support some of my other bookish friends, I'll do a scroll. And if you see some smiley face, it's because I'm trying to support you, but I'm running out of time because I have another thing, the next thing I need to get
Right.
to, like
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
So, what is one of the next things that you want to do going forward with your writing career? Obviously, get book two out, but is there any other kind of like fun goals that you trying to challenge yourself, or is
Oh, this is enough. This is enough of a challenge. Well,
just do it?
I really did fall in love with the community, like I said. So I don't know how much you've seen, but like we have a book, like over 40 book talk book club on my page, like,
I've
because that
seen
was the
that. Yeah,
big, yeah, like
I
to me
don't
when I,
meet that threshold quite yet, but I'm getting closer every day.
oh yeah, and you don't actually have to be above 40. I mean, that was the whole joke, was like I came on here and I was like, oh my gosh, I could be like everybody's mom. And then all of a sudden out of the woodwork, like I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, there's like
You find your
so many
community.
different people. And so, forming that book club was a lot of fun. So, I mean, I want to continue to do that and just meet more readers. But that's been like the most fun is just interacting. Like when I first got on here, I thought it was either like you were an author or you were a reader. And right away I was like, but wait, I'm a reader. Like
Yeah,
I've always been a reader. So like I always joke like I when I grow up I just want to be like a book talker. Like those they're so cool, like out there with all their books. And I'm like, I want to be part of that too because, I love books. The only problem that I have found is I can't review books like they do because I don't look at them the same way anymore.
mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like if 10 years ago I didn't like a book, I think I see it differently now because I
Yeah,
see the whole behind the scenes. And I would never lie. I would never give a review that I don't 100% stand behind. But if I don't like a book, I'm just not going to mention it because I could never. Somebody loves that book. Like somebody will love
oh yeah.
whatever book it is I don't like, but it's somebody's baby. And it's like, I couldn't do that. So I will 100% review books I love and continue to do that too. But no, as far as a challenge goes, I'm just going to keep on writing, keep on surviving out here, and hopefully find readers.
Yeah, no, I get that when it comes to giving reviews because if I came from the background of writing critiques, not necessarily reviews, so critiquing in the sense that if I there is some kind of thing that I'm like, there's some kind of plot hole or something I
Right,
dislike, and maybe give a recommendation of like, I wish they did this, or wish me, and that if an author does look at a quasi, so review, those things can help us if we care to look at them to try to figure out again trends, not individuals, but if there's something
right.
that we need to improve of in our writing, and that's not a bad thing because
No,
every author
no.
wants to improve, but we also, again, it's our book baby. If you
Yeah.
don't talk bad about my book baby.
Yeah, it's very personal. But with that being said, I have to tell you, the one thing I was very afraid of is when I first got on, people are always like, don't read your reviews, don't read your
Oh,
reviews.
yeah.
It's like, because some people really have a hard time with it. Like when I wrote this, I like pretty much wrote myself the nastiest review I think I could probably read. I was like, if I see this, like I won't even cry. So nothing's gonna faze me. Like I teach kids all day long and they're not nice sometimes. I'm like, I can handle it. But yeah, I would never be able to provide that review for somebody else. No way.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's and yes, as an author, you don't have to look at your reviews. You can opt not
Oh,
to.
right.
That's okay. If you
Yeah.
do, one, yes, might need a little bit of a thick skin because someone out there is going to be real mean, and it's probably because they
Hmm.
have a bad day and who
Yeah.
knows what happened in their background of their life.
Yeah.
But yeah, look at generalities, not individuals that just
Right.
have those bad days. Because I've
Right.
said this like probably 1,000 times. I don't know. I feel like it's a lot, but my favorite negative review was maybe not. I don't know if it was a 2 star or 3 star, but not not super negative, thankfully. But the funny thing was the whole paragraph was just raving about how much they like the book, they like the book, they like the book, they like the book, and then the last line was giving it a 2 star rating because it was not a standalone.
Oh, okay. Because they didn't want a series. Okay.
And I was like, you do realize on the book cover it says book one of the series.
But you know what? I think a lot of times too, like people don't think of it in the eyes like maybe of the author either. But I have to tell you, my husband is like my review man. Like I wake up each morning and he is the one that looks at them. Like I don't read them as much. I did right away at the beginning. I was like, what are people going to say?
Mm-hmm.
And now he's like, oh, you hit this many reviews, or he's proud to
Aww,
do a little reporting. Yeah,
I like that. I like that. That's sweet.
yeah, super supportive.
It is very sweet and
Yeah,
as supportive as your readers too. I love this. I absolutely love this. I love good vibes. Nights with great
yeah,
vibes are fantastic. And
yeah.
but yes, reviews are not essential to look at.
No.
Of course, we all want a lot of them. Hopefully, good ones because that will help sell the next book. Some so it's that
You know
tricky
what's funny
tricky
though? I
thing.
mean, I've been a reader my whole life, and I honestly like never read reviews as a reader. Like I was on Goodreads, honestly, just to keep track of the books I read because I would forget, like, oh, did I read that? Or like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? But I never actually read them like as a reader. So I never realized until being author how many people rely on reviews, just as like to help them pick books. Because it's just not something for no reason. I don't know. I just maybe because I
Hey,
didn't grow
every
up as much with social media, it
yeah,
just it wasn't something we did. I kind of think back
and
and I'm like, how
unless
did we figure it out? I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I don't care if a book has one review or zero reviews or not. The only ones
Yeah.
I'm leery about is if all of their reviews are maybe 1 star, then maybe maybe that I would perk up about. But the amount for me doesn't matter.
No.
Now the difference is as an author, I understand not only does it sway a lot of potential readers, but it also affects potential promotions that you can get. And any little bit of help we want. So if
Yeah,
we
so that's
need
probably a lot of stuff I don't know. So like that's something I never even like looked into. So like as far as like my journey goes, like I knew they were important, but I've never actually like looked into what it all means, I guess. But that's for another time.
Hey, that's baby steps,
Yeah,
because
baby
there's so
steps.
many things in the self-publishing world. If you try to do it all and learn it
Yeah,
all right away, it will be overwhelming. It will
right.
be terribly overwhelming.
Yeah, and that's
I
what I
went,
want to avoid at all costs. Like
yes.
I've said this whole time, like if I am not having fun doing this, then I'm out. Like This has been a blast. Like every part of it, like besides being a little bit nervous when it was coming out that I was going to screw something up as far as the computer behind the scenes stuff, I'm like, if it's not fun, then I don't want to do it. And it has been more fun than I thought it would be. So keep going
That's
till it's
great.
not fun.
That is fantastic. And that's the way it should be. I mean, I
Yeah,
think that for anybody, your occupation, your hobbies, your interests, if it's not fun, unless you're like having a super life, saving critical job at that moment, why are
yeah,
you in that position?
right.
Question mark. Like what are you valuing outside of your happiness? So it should be
Hmm.
fun.
Yeah.
At least that's what I hope.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Yeah, and I think
So
when you're
let
having fun doing something, people feel that, you know what I mean? And it's like I'm drawn to other authors and to like book talkers based on the energy that they have. Like I can tell which ones are having fun and which ones are authentic, and I'm drawn to that, you know? So you try to be as real as you can, but have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, there are definitely, unfortunately, some people out in this particular community that aren't happy or trying to force themselves through it, or maybe they had like super high dreams. I mean, I had dreams that everybody was going to find my book, right? But like super high dreams, and when it doesn't, you don't hit that threshold, you don't hit that goal, especially when you think you do, they get crushed
Yeah,
and become sad or bitter. And it is sad when I see that happen to someone else.
right.
But let me see. I see a comment popping up. 183 reason on my TBR. Ah, in January. There you go.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love it.
And that's the thing, like when I first started this out, like, I really was like, if I see one person, like my goal was like, if I see one review from somebody that doesn't know me, like that was like the dream. And I'm like, okay, somebody did. And then it was like the first time seeing somebody like actually on here, like open book mail, and it was my book, like that was wild. And then like the first time someone said, oh, it's on my wish list, I'm like, my book is on your wish list? Like what?
That's
Like
so cool.
there was a book talker the other day, and I don't know if she's here or not, but oh my gosh, she did some crazy book haul. And I follow her because I think she's so cool and everything she does. I love her content. And she whipped it out of a package. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like those little moments are just the ones that you're like, this is why I'm doing this. Like, how cool that somebody has my book. And I know you know the feeling. So it's just wild still. It surprises me every day.
Hey, and you wanted to continue to enjoy. You don't want, I don't know, maybe you wanted to get to a point where you're like, it's just another day. But on the other
No,
hand,
yeah.
you want that feeling. It's so fun.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I mean, like to have somebody read the words that you put and enjoy it, there's nothing like it.
Oh, yes. So I do want to ask,
Yeah,
because the hour's peeling on by,
yep,
but I always want to make sure I get some of the basics down. And if
yep.
this platform is nice, and sometimes it's not, but most of the time, knock on wood, it allows me to repurpose this video where I can put it on my YouTube channel at a later point. So I'll add all your
Okay,
content below if that is the case. If not, I'm
okay.
sorry.
Oh,
But
that's fine.
regardless, for the people who are watching, where can people find and follow you outside of Book Talk? Because you're here, that's what we're chatting on right now. What other socials? Do you have a website? Do you have a newsletter? So let me know about that thing.
So yes, yes, and yes. So I am on Facebook, but and Instagram, same handle, but it's you're not going to be super impressed. I try really hard, but like I said, the graphics are not my thing. I'm not as consistent, but I'm on both of those. And then I do have a website. I started that right off the get-go. I was like, yes. And then the newsletter is
Very
on
fun.
there as well. So when you go to my website, it pops up, to sign up for the newsletter. And I like to not even call it a newsletter. It's more just like updates. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
overwhelm. Like I just send the basic thing. Like this week they got a picture of the new cover, and
I
then
love it.
next time it'll be a couple months and I'll just give them an update because I know that's how I would want with an author, just like give me the important stuff and let me know so I don't miss something because you never know when they're going to see a post or not. And then I do have my signed copies on my website too if somebody was interested.
Yeah, and I do like the idea of newsletters or updates. And again, keeping them, well, you want to make sure they have values so people continue to open it. So you don't want to
Yeah,
like spam them. I do mine monthly. I feel like if I do it again at every time they month, that's a good thing. It also
yeah,
keeps me on a schedule when I do releases, because I kind of want to make sure the newsletter and the releases are at the same time. So when I do releases, at least it's like, hey, book's out today.
Hmm.
You know, it's
Yeah.
something of worth.
I just don't
Just
think
so
I
you know,
would
I have
have
a
anything to
sale on
say
go
every
now.
month.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, I would struggle if I did it every month. I don't know what I would say, but I have this like reoccurring fear, to be honest, as an author. I'm like, if all of a sudden I woke up and all this was gone, like
Yes.
that's terrifying as an indie
Hmm.
author. Like what would you do, right? Because it's like social media is the only way we have to reach our readers. So like that newsletter, it's almost like I know
It's
people are like, it
valuable.
sounds kind of like old fashioned, like why would I want to be in your newsletter? But it's like
Yeah.
that's the only way I have to get in touch with you if for some crazy reason something happens with your account or social media or whatever it is, right? So I mean, the percentage of people that are on my newsletter compared to who are following me, I mean, it's very minimal, but you try to, entice them so that you can connect with them and say, hey, I've got another book coming out, or, don't forget to give away or whatever it is.
And that's again goes back to the educating your
Yeah,
followers is the reason why I have this is in the case
yeah,
I lose this platform
right.
tomorrow in 5 seconds, you can still follow me and be in the know of where I am, what's going on, and that's
Yeah,
why they are important.
right.
And so again, they don't have to be spammy. They just again are
No, right.
your direct link to your readers that the author is the one in control of.
Hmm.
Just don't lose your newsletter.
Yeah,
have a
yeah, for
backup.
sure.
Have a backup of all the emails.
You're right.
But yeah, and the thing is, newsletters don't have to be scary. So I've had some authors that just like to talk about what's been going on in their life to do their updates. Others keep it very very minimalistic, like you, and it's just like, here's a new special report, just keeping you up to date. I'm still here
Yeah.
breathing, and we're all good.
Yeah,
Moving on.
exactly. And sending them like the new cover and stuff, like I want them to feel special that they're going to see it a little bit earlier, and it is fun because a lot of the people that comment the most on my videos are also the people on the newsletter. And so I wanted them to see it first because many of them would message me and said, oh, I like the cover or whatever, because that's one thing that's really surprised me is like how much you connect and I don't want to say traditional authors don't, I have no idea. I'm sure they do, but just how much you connect with your readers that they just message you. And I've had a few say, oh, I'm so sorry to message you. I'm like, no, I love hearing that
Why
you
we do
loved the
this?
book. Yeah, like no, tell me. I want to hear that. It's amazing.
And yeah, I was gonna say it's when they start becoming essentially friends, and I don't want to use the word virtual, but I mean it is kind of virtual, but
Yeah,
it is also a strange and really fun experience
yeah.
when you meet one face to
Oh
face.
yes.
Maybe it's another book talk author or someone in the reading group, and like, didn't don't I know you from a social media thing? And I'm like, do you? Okay, hi.
That happened to me with another author. This summer I went to a book signing, and she is a local author to me and I follow her on the other platform, and I was sitting next to her and I was like, oh my god, it's Vanessa, like, and I was like having this like fangirl moment. I'm gonna be like, I'm the weirdo that's gonna say hi, I follow you. And I did, and I said it, and it was just a fun moment. But yeah, it is weird when you see someone on screen and then you really see them. It's like, oh, you're real.
I definitely have been having a few of those moments now that I'm starting to do and attend more author style events, and
Hmm.
I go to Dragon since I'm in the Atlanta area. Dragon Con big convention, and was able to meet some authors that I've seen on Book Talk for however long, and then getting to meet them face to face. And the same
Yeah.
thing when I went to the 20 books to 50K last month. It was just so cool to be like, I get to hang out with you all week, face to face. You're a real person. You're not just a face on the screen anymore. So
Yeah.
it's just fun.
Yeah, because book
No,
people just like they get each other. They just do. Whether you're a reader or a writer, you just have that like special connection. I think that's just like the beauty of why this whole community is the way it is. Like it's just land of positivity, it's nice.
yes. And okay, so I want to also make sure I ask because
Okay.
you kind of answered it before, but just to be very clear,
Yes.
where can people get your
Oh,
book
okay, that's what you're
and
asking.
what formats do you have it in at this moment so people
Okay, so
know?
so it's available paperback and ebook. I didn't dive into the Audible. seen just yet. I would love to.
That's a big bite. I understand.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant, not because I don't want it accessible to people. I absolutely do. But yeah, so it's paperback, it's ebook, and it's available everywhere that books are sold. If you only like to go to your local indie bookstore, you can go to whatever bookstore and ask them to order it. And I think they even get you a percentage off because you're ordering it from an indie bookstore. And if you don't want to buy it, you can request it at your local library. And I've had many people do that. So you can pretty much get it anywhere that books are sold.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, wide, going wide. Goal for 2020. Wait, well, what 2024? What year are we heading into?
Yeah, I know, right?
But at least I made the direct sales thing. So if you want a signed copy, I got you. If you want an ebook, I got you.
So that I didn't do at first was I that actually shocked me when I first released it. And then like a week or two in, some sweet person on here said, "Are you selling signed copies?" And I was like, why would you want a book signed by me? Like it was such a weird moment. I was just like, oh my gosh, you want me to sign? Like that was just like a such a sweet, like amazing moment. So that I was like, oh, how am I going to make that happen? And then I was like, oh no, I got to figure that out. Like, what does that entail? So I did get that figured out on my website too, which has been just so sweet that people want a signed copy. I'll never get over that. It's crazy. I
It
don't
is.
know.
It's one of those "can you pinch me" moments, and it's
Yes.
again one of those feelings that you hope never fades because
Yeah, I don't
it's
think
so.
it will. I don't think it will. I don't know. My grandfather was an author back in the day, an indie author. And I didn't really take it for what it was back then. I was, so self-absorbed as in my teens and early 20s. But, he didn't have this whole opportunity, and it was such a big
Yeah.
deal to him. So yeah, like I can't imagine what he would think of all this now, like someone asking for a signed copy or something like that. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's wild.
It is fantastic, and I'm glad you mentioned earlier that you have done live book events. So, do you have any planned going forward of book signings or other
Hmm.
places you're going to be popping up at representing your fantastic new book?
Yeah, so I posted last night because I had a public library signing, and um
Ooh.
and I kind of made the best joke of it I could because they called me and they were like, "Do you want to cancel? We only have three people registered." And I was like, "No, I don't want to cancel. Like those are three people that want to come see me." So I was like stuck in this back room. It was like an abandoned back room in silence with three folding chairs, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I was so nerve wracked. I was like, "This is awful." But then they showed up and they were so sweet and they hadn't read it yet. They wanted signed copies. We talked for an hour. It was so sweet. I was like, see, this is why you don't ever cancel because I got to meet
Yeah.
them. Yeah, but tomorrow night I have an event at like a local literacy center. They had
Ooh.
asked me to come, so that's really exciting. They have like 30 people registered for that, so I'm very excited about that. And then I have a friend from my home state that just like opened a wine and cheese store, and she just did her grand opening last week, and she asked if I would come and do like a book signing in her new store. So we're doing that Saturday. So just I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll come. So
I love it.
always, yeah.
Keep those events going. I've been very bad since COVID about scheduling one-on-one events at places. I think it's just because I've had so many other projects that I forget to do it. And if you don't do it in advance, again, it's that planning. It's that planning.
Yeah.
But I
And
did
I
see
do
this.
find like I am interested to see how this goes because I did do a signing at a local bookstore back in, and it was a couple months ago. And I was sitting at this table and it was awkward because I feel like people are hesitant to come up to you. One girl was so sweet. So she actually just kept going by with her stroller and like looking at me and like not knowing like what to do. And then she came back and she's like, I am so sorry. I didn't know who you were. I just looked you up on TikTok and I wanted to come over. And I'm like, you're not supposed to know who I am. Like, I'm not anybody you should know. And so then she came over and I got to meet her and that was fun. But the one tomorrow night, people are registered for. So that feels a little bit more like I know that they're coming and they
Mhm.
know why they're coming kind of thing. So that should be fun.
I love
But
it.
yeah,
And
you
I
get
did
to
see
meet new
a
people.
question pop up just a moment, sorry. It's always around the end of the hour that my voice starts getting scratchy, so I
That's
know an
okay.
hour is about to be there. But did see a question pop up asking about book and genre and wasn't sure to whom, so I'll let you go since you've been the one talking first, and then I'll kind of give a quick summary of some of the mine in the
Oh, okay,
background.
sure, yeah. So 183 Reasons is book one in the Newfound Lake series. So it's a small town romance with, we're just going to say medium spice because I don't really want to say it's too much or too little because it depends on what you read.
It's
Yeah,
that just right. What is
yeah,
the three little bears and the Goldilocks? It's the
yeah,
just right spice.
just right. Just right. You're going to like it.
And then for me, I'm epic fantasy. Katharine E. Wibell, and I have three different series. They range from young adult, new adult, adult. That's usually divided because of the level of grit or versus the clean fantasy for my YA. But I have portal fantasy for one genre, magical multiverse. I have a war-based animal shifter fantasy, and a dark retelling of Nordic myth for my adult series. So three different series, and feel free to ask. Oh wait, we love answering questions. Actually, I do. I can't just say that for everybody, but I always love answering questions.
Yeah, no, for sure. How many books do you have out?
I have. It's a trick. My Viking series are novellas, so they're shorter reads, and it looks nice when I'm able to release numerous of them a year, a number of them a year. But I have four, five, six, seven full lengths at the moment, and 12 novellas
Wow,
at this time, and a couple
nice.
different omnibus bundles too.
Yeah. Oh, somebody is
Funniest
asking.
moment. Oh, sorry. Yeah, funniest moment as an author. Uh oh.
Hmm. Okay, I got one. So I was when I first before I decided to jump in and really do this, I was meeting with Ruth Cardello, which I don't know if you guys follow her on TikTok, but she's a friend of a friend, and she was nice enough to meet me. And she sat down. I don't know, some people aren't going to get this, but we were sitting down, and she goes, "So are you going to go wide?" And do you know what that sounds like to somebody who does not understand? Like, what? What are you asking me? Like, like you don't know terminology as somebody not, so I'm like, what do you mean by that? So that was very funny because I didn't understand what that meant, but then I got an education. So it was funny to me.
Funniest moment as an author. Oh, well, okay, it's a weird. I don't know if it's fun. I would have to think about the funniest, but this one at least made me laugh because when I was going through the process of starting to get all my books converted into audiobook format, I was reached out by the British actor George Blagden, who was on the TV show Vikings, and he reached out to me
Mhm.
asking if he could narrate my series, which was really cool, and got to arrange one of these kind of online virtual meet and chats with him. And he was like, "I was just so flattered that you want to like talk with me," and I'm like, "Wait, excuse me."
Yeah, like what?
What? Wait, no, no, no. It's the other way around. I have been watching you on TV for years. What is this? So I don't know. I felt that was more of a flattered thing, but it got me. I just laughed. I had to laugh because I was just like, I don't. I'm not. Wait, who do you think I am?
Yeah.
I'm not
And you
that
know
big
what,
yet.
that actually makes me think of a good question, and I don't know who's actually watching this or not. And you've been doing this a lot longer than I have. So you know how you said somebody wanted to talk to you and like you were like, talk to me. Oh my gosh, right? How does that work with book talkers? Like there are some book talkers that I would love to talk with, like do this with, right? But like do they ask you or do you ask them?
My rule of thumb, it never hurts to ask.
Okay.
So I'm always on the asking side for the most part because it never hurts. The worst thing they could say is no, they don't have time,
Yeah.
and that's a valid point. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just ask, and I rarely get a no. Usually, plan in advance, and that's why I really do try to make sure work around everybody's schedules. But everybody's a person. We're all people. And so when someone
Right.
else reaches out to them, they'll probably be like, "Oh, you want to talk to me?" You never know.
Right.
And
That's true.
so it never hurts to be the one to ask. And I did see, sorry, Vicky, that you had a question a little bit ago. Hopefully you're still here asking, do you have book signings posted anywhere? So about you.
Yeah. No, I don't, but I probably should. But I think I know which Vicky you're talking about. And Vicky, I can message you because I know you're more local, and I can let you know about Saturdays because you might be close. But I know we talked about another one too. But yeah, that's local right now, like nothing um, too crazy. But I should probably put them on the website.
Yes, and I do see Brian. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with all these comments. I'm a
Yeah,
long-winded answerer, so apologies. But
that's
I
okay.
did see one asking about, yes, so these are some examples of my books, and you can find out more of them on the thing you click on my platform because I now have a bookshop there as well as a book talk shop under Face Warrior Press, but you will never figure out how to spell that one. So if you wanted to learn more, always check my link because there's so much information about my books all there. But feel free to ask anything. And yeah, okay, sorry. Yes, always ask. I'm just catching up with all the comments.
Do book talkers even do like I? You know what it is? This whole live thing is what is the next thing I'm going to try to figure out. Like I've been comfortable with like coming on and people joining, but this is
It's the
just like
next step is the lives.
I feel like I'm on like ESPN with all this stuff going on like on the screen. I got to learn. I got to learn how to do this.
Yeah, I'm still learning. Like when someone ever swapped in, because viewers can like send support, and some of that comes into a monolith, which I've realized late in the game that some of it's monetary. So when you have like the little things that pop up randomly, it's someone sending you probably a fraction of a coin, but they add up. So some
Oh,
giving you a tip essentially, but
oh,
it is kind of fun. But yeah,
who knew?
lives aren't that scary. They're easier, I know, to begin with when you have someone to talk to this way
Right.
for a little bit, but they really aren't scary. And sometimes if I'm doing some kind of I don't want to say either mundane project, but because I've been building out book boxes, one of the things I've done in the past is when I'm creating some little thing, a little gift thing for my future buyers of my books, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
future readers. But I'll just like I fold origami weapons and dragons. And it'll just like turn it on alive and be like, I'm just folding origami, come and hang out with me and let's talk. Let's talk about
That's so
fantasy
funny.
books.
Yeah, I could probably just sit here and talk. I think I just as long as I don't screw something up. Oh, JC Fuller is asking, I don't know if she's asking you or me, but maybe both of us, how do we have the energy to make fun TikToks with work and writing? For me, I guess I'm just blessed with like a chaotic mind. I don't know. Like I do not even have a plan on a daily basis. Like I literally just wake up and I'm like, oh, this sounds like a good idea to do. And that's probably why it's somewhat funny because it's just literally comes off the top of my head most of the time. So
I batch
that
videos. So
do you batch?
Mondays
Yeah.
and Fridays are usually my video days, and I'll make a bunch of them. That's why I'm wearing the same shirt for like 15 days in a row. But it helps me because I set aside a block of time to be like, this is my media time.
Right.
And not to say that if I have a good question or a good idea or something pops in my mind or response video throughout the week, I'll just throw one in. But that just helps me because I'm a person that lives by my schedule. And when I know, okay, I'm hitting to my block of time to go and create content, it makes it a lot easier. And that's my focus. And I don't have to worry about doing that throughout the week since it's halfway done.
Do you make like a list like before that day of all the different ideas you have?
I have recently had this the notepad function on my phone, and if something pops in my head on different days,
Yeah.
I'll just jot it down. Or if someone asks a question for me, and I don't have time to like sit down, and I'll be like, "Hey, on this video, respond and do a response, something like that." And so I do keep kind of some notes, but doing this for a while, there's definitely some formats that I like,
Yeah.
and also don't be ashamed periodically once you've done this enough, like maybe 6 months in a year, to repost an old video.
Yeah.
Because we're all people and we have almost so much time in a day. And sometimes, if the video was really funny 6 months ago, it still may be pretty funny to repurpose it with your new viewers.
Yeah. That's true. And you know what's funny is I'm very much like you as far as like I live by a schedule and I'm very organized, but this is like the one aspect of my life that feels very chaotic is the social media. So I would probably benefit from maybe being a little more organized, but yeah, I've just been kind of like flying by the seat of my pants and and
And that's
documenting the
fine.
journey as it's happening, I guess is kind of
Yes.
what I've been doing. Like, the book signing the other night didn't go as expected, so I talked about it, so I don't know. So far, so good, but maybe that'll
Yeah.
change.
Hey, no, and that's one of my friends on here, Jason Duro. He does that. He just like films when he wants to film, and
Yeah.
he talks about whatever bookish things that pop into his mind or answers questions and goes, just keep it casual. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
stress you out.
Yeah.
It's just
Totally.
I like to have backups because there's going to be a day
Right.
where I'm like, I
I
really
know.
don't want to flip on this very, very broken ring light, which I need to, it's going to be on my Christmas list to get a new one because my dog, I have an Irish Wolfhound puppy and he's knocked it down twice. And it's now, my ring light is like all rigged up with like clips and
That's one thing I don't have. So maybe that's like something I need to look into because I do notice most people have one. So maybe I need a fancy ring light.
you don't need it. You can totally get by without it. I like it because right now my office slash couch room, I can like sit back here and have it propped up. But
Yeah, yeah.
again, I do live, so it keeps it a little actually fairly comfortable as well.
Yeah, no,
But
that's smart. That's smart.
okay, so we're hitting the end of the hour, and what
Okay.
I'm just making sure I didn't miss any major questions. But if anybody has a question, this is a great time to ask it. And if you have a topic that you wanted to like covered, that's fine. And same goes for you. If you have any questions that you wanted to ask or topics that you wanted to cover that we had not covered so far, this is the time to do it.
Do it. Oh, I know when you said a co-host in your video, I was like, oh gosh, the pressure.
Like I said, it's conversational. It's
Yeah, no, it's
back and forth,
good.
back and forth.
When is your next book out?
Okay. So I've been working on, because it's December, and so I was actually working on my 2024 tentative schedule of releases because I do release two series simultaneously. Do not advise it, but I do.
Hmm.
Um, and so I do try to plan in advance because the way I write and the way I edit, I'm writing books well ahead of where I'm editing them, well ahead of where, I'm about to release them. So I do have them staggered out. And essentially all the books for next year I've already written. They haven't been edited or at different editing stages. So I'm
Got it.
working on the next couple years worth of stuff. So because of that, I'm trying to find out, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Every, it's hard to find that
Yeah,
perfect schedule to figure out how much time your editors need and how much time to do
right.
the prep work. And I've started dabbling with Kickstarter. That means I have to work even further back to make sure I have all that stuff and have the time slot in the middle of release and editing for the Kickstarter and all that kind of stuff. So I've been
Yeah.
spending some time trying to hack out that. Tentatively, I will be releasing my first book. Okay, the first book I'm releasing of the Jed Chronicles series won't be until I think it's April that I'm tentatively doing it. But I'm hoping to release one novella of my Viking series, and I don't remember if it's February or March. So there'll be another one, and I'll be doing an omnibus bundling because what I do for my, I know it's strategy for my novellas. They're ebook only until I get sets of four, and then I package them into a they're over there, printed omnibus in sets of four, just because I want a book to have a decent sized spine. And
Right.
so
Right.
I have published up through 12 this year, and so the beginning of next year, I'm going to release the third omnibus that will take it up through 12. So different kind of publishing. Don't ask me
Hmm.
about audiobooks. They come out when they come out.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no plan. It's when
Yeah.
they're
It's
ready.
tricky. Yeah. It's trickier for sure.
Yeah,
Well, good. You got a busy year coming.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds good.
And so do you, with your release. And you said yours was also
April.
tentatively April too.
Yeah.
Ooh,
April.
a
Yep.
release
The
month. I
yeah. The
like this.
pre-order for the ebook is actually already up, and then paperback will be, right around that week. So yeah, it's ready to go.
Fantastic. And you're far better than me. I am the worst with pre-orders. I never seem to get them to do what I want them to do. I just can't make them work.
It is stressful. So this time I will just do the ebook, and then the paperbacks will come a few days before. And then now I'm not panicked because I felt like hitting that button was just so scary, like you know, go.
The first time will always be a little nerve wracking, and the second
Yeah.
time will still be nerve
Oh, I'm
wracking, but
sure.
hopefully
I'm sure.
less so. Hopefully
Yeah.
less so. And you want to get a little, more comfortable as the days, years, months goes on. Probably not in that order, but
Yeah.
Well, since I don't see any other questions popping up, what I will do for the night, since it's about that time for me to take out my giant puppy,
Okay.
want to say thank you
Oh,
for
thank
coming out and
you.
hanging out with me this past hour. And
Yeah.
for everybody who's been listening, thank you for coming and hanging out with us.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. And if ever you want to do one of these again, I do plan in advance, but
Okay.
just let me know. Maybe we
Yeah,
should
it'd be
do
fun.
one with April releases or something.
I know. I was going to say if we're both in April, we should do it again. Sounds good.
Yeah, and
I appreciate you asking me.
yeah, they're not that scary, and don't feel afraid of asking someone else because
Yeah.
they're fun. And at some
I
point,
will.
I feel like
You know what? There's a few people I have in mind that I will reach out because, like you said, what's the worst they can say is no. So
yeah,
yeah,
and I think it would be fun. Not that I have the wherewithal right now to even fathom it much more than the base idea, but there are so many subgroups here on Book Talk that get together and they just chat and have fun that are
yeah,
bookish authors, kind of like these round tables, some virtual round tables. And I think that would be kind of fun to be like,
yeah.
come and hang out whenever you want to. It's the same night every week or whatever, and have a bunch of authors and bookish people jump on and we just talk
Yeah, that'd be fun.
about
Sounds good. You got
whatever.
to plan it.
That's the thing I don't want to do. The
Okay.
plan.
Well, we'll wait for somebody to plan it and then we'll come up with
There you go. Anybody want to plan one? Let me know.
it. Sounds good. I appreciate you having me.
Okay, and for everybody else, have a lovely evening, and we will talk again soon.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.